in Burkina Faso, where a coup does look to be underway. The interim president, the prime minister, and other ministers are being held now by the Presidential Guard. That group, known as the RSP, is close to the ousted president, Blaise Compaoré. It burst into a cabinet meeting Wednesday, arresting the men, and a military spokesman has just recently gone on live television to say it is dissolving all political institutions. Well, for more now, I'm joined on the set by Africa specialist Emmanuel Dupuy. Emmanuel, thank you for joining us. Burkina Faso had always been a light in Africa in regard to democracy. Many thought it was representative of its own Arab Spring. Is that all now over?
Well, in a way, it is a continuation of what happened last year when Blaise Compaoré was ousted out of power in October, because there is a coup, and now we know that there's a coup. There's a military spokesman who took the floor on the national television to say it. But at the same time, we do know that civil society, a certain number of political institutions, the Council of Transition, president of the National Council for the Transition, Sheriff C, denounced the coup, and the people are going out in the streets, and the people are heading towards the presidential palace to say they are not in accordance to what is happening now. So there is still civil society awareness, civil society engagement, but there is a short-term agenda, which is the one which now the presidential guards have provocated in what seemed to be an ongoing democratic processes as we were heading from 3 weeks now for elections.
Well, how much can the popular protest help? They were very key in ousting Blaise Compaoré. Can they help in this kind of situation today, do you think?
Well, they certainly can put pressure on what is happening and on the political spectrum in Ouagadougou. And besides what is happening on the streets, there is the international mobilization. The Security Council is going to gather today to denounce, of course, and to initiate a mobilization, international mobilization. Immediately after what was presented as a coup happened last night, there was a joint statement issued by the African Union, by the West African ECOWAS, and the United Nations, saying they were, of course, calling for the maintaining of the transition, as again we were going through this political process. So I think, to respond directly to your question, I think if there is popular protests, if there is a very harsh and very strong position from the key countries, amongst which, of course, France, amongst which, of course, European Union, since Burkina Faso is very dedicated to work with the help of the international organization, the NGOs which are present in Ouagadougou, and of course, there is another factor, which is the army, because the Presidential Guard represents 1,200 soldiers, but there is also the army which is loyal to the transition, to this point, which is still loyal to the transition.
So how do you see this playing out? Now, there was an election that was meant to be held just weeks from now. What's the strategy of the Presidential Guard?
Well, the strategy of the Presidential Guard is a bit difficult to understand because I'm not sure it's their own strategy. We do know that there is a momentum, a context. The Presidential Guard was supposed to be dismantled. The transition government issued a warning saying that the Presidential Guard was considered as an army inside the army, and asked for it, or proposed for its dissolution, to end the Presidential Guard, dismantle, sorry, the Presidential Guard, the last 6 September. So that's the momentum. There is also a political aspect of what is going on. The Conseil constitutionnel of Burkina Faso just last week invalidated 16 of the 22 candidates, amongst which 2 strong political personality who were representing the patrimony of President Compaoré. So they were saying that this was not fair, and they was asking for a reaction. Maybe we have this reaction now.
All right, Emmanuel Dupuy, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us, Africa specialist. Emmanuel Dupuy, if you're just joining us now, we're talking about the situation in Burkina Faso where a coup is underway. The interim president, the prime minister, and other ministers are being held by the Presidential Guard, a group also known as the RSP, and a group that's very close to the ousted president, Blaise Compaoré. The Presidential Guard burst into a cabinet meeting Wednesday, arresting the men. A military spokesperson then went on live television to say it is dissolving all political institutions. Now, the U.S. Called for the immediate release of Burkina Faso's interim president, prime minister, and other leaders. The move also condemned by the UN and the African Union.